My name is Luis. Everybody knows that. This is Tim Hileman, the CEO of Special Olympics.
Yeah, Special Olympics Michigan.
Special Olympics Michigan. And you guys are doing a lot of cool stuff. You guys just bought a new building, right?
We did, yeah. We bought it about 4 years ago, but time really flies by. It feels sometimes like yesterday. Lots of renovations, construction happening now, so it's been cool to see the progress in action.
So I guess before we go too deep into that, because I definitely want to talk about the Special Olympics. I think the Special Olympics are I think it'll be a really cool subject for the podcast. I think that, I believe that the Special Olympics are really cool.
Yeah.
They're super sweet. And I think even past that, what's happening right now in Michigan with the Special Olympics is you guys are kind of doing a lot of cool stuff like that. They turned, what was it, South Christian High School?
Yeah, the old South Christian High School in Grand Rapids.
Yeah, they turned it into a state-of-the-art facility. Yeah, you guys are also housing other nonprofits there because you guys have so much space.
Yeah, so one of the things that we looked at when we were buying it is what are we going to do with all the space? We loved it because of the gymnasiums, but my board of directors and some of them even in real estate, boy, that's going to be a lot of money to operate. It was a little bit, I'd say, self-serving. We wanted to reach out and have some partners that would also help kind of shoulder the load and pay some rent, but also just putting collaboration and partnerships together. And it's been awesome. So now there's 12 of us total, 12 different nonprofit organizations in the building that are just doing amazing things.
Do you have a finance background?
No. So early on, my background was in social work. And then I worked for a few organizations that always did great stuff, great missions, but never seemed to have a lot of money, right? And so it was always, the tale of the social worker or worker trying to stretch every dollar. And so went to grad school for business or management. And that's where I picked up a lot of kind of the business, I'd say, or finance acumen, and was able to carry that over to a couple great organizations.
Because after that, you started at Hope Network after that, right?
Yep. So I worked at Hope Network, and then from Hope Network
you were stolen.
Yeah, and then to Indian Trails Camp in Icus, which is, again, as you know, just an amazing place or organization, and then Special Olympics Michigan.
So I want to talk about all of that stuff, but I guess I want to talk about you. You're not people. We're not video recording this, but you're not I don't want to say the typical suit CEO, but you're also not the hoodie tech CEO. You rock and roll music and you go to concerts and stuff.
I do, yeah.
Do you think that that has any effect on? I don't want to say your professional life, but kind of anything about how you've chosen your path, or what is that like where you are?
Yeah, I think, I've heard other people say this, and I think it's helped my career. It's pretty much what you see is what you get. I'm pretty kind of low key, level balanced throughout. And so, whether it's at work, whether it's at home, whether it's couple dudes that I've been playing music with for a long time. We just got back together again, and we've been doing shows for the last 9 months, indie alternative music as well. So that's been kind of a cool thing. So keeps me grounded. No, we've been playing all local around Grand Rapids, and a lot of them, or a couple of them, have been for fundraisers around Special Olympics Michigan and our law enforcement torch run program. So that's been cool, kind of putting together a couple of those passions that I really like together.
Do you have a musical background, or are you just I play a musical instrument for fun?
Yeah, so I started when going to college, even through high school, my whole life I was going to be a band teacher. That was my career path, and went to school for the first 3 years of college because I was going to be a band teacher and instructor. So always played a lot of different musical instruments, and then I was working at a summer camp really after my freshman year, but then kind of leaned into it the sophomore year of said, boy, I like music, but I like playing, not as much the theory, but I love being around people and working and serving others. So it kind of shifted me to a whole new path, but still get to rock and roll and put the bass on every once in a while.
So you're a bass player?
I am, yeah.
Slap it to bass.
Yeah. I think every time we play out, we get a little bit of that or going. So, and my kids are all pretty musically inclined as well too. So we have some pretty good Hileman garage band shows in our basement.
I love it. Are they into the same type of music as you?
They are, yeah. Just last night I was at a show with my youngest son, seeing Jimmy Eat World and Fall Out Boy, and he's a big fan of that.
I remember Fall Out Boy when they came out. It was not the coolest music, and all the guys I knew used to listen to it in private. But then now it's I listen to Fall Out Boy.
Yeah. So it's kind of full circle. So my oldest son is freshman in college, 19, and I remember taking him to Van Andel Arena when he was in 7th or 8th grade to see Fall Out Boy, and it's kind of one of those, right? Oh, okay, I'll go because I'm taking my son, but a few years later, I'm taking my other 7th grade son. But it's cool. They put on a good show, so it's fun time.
Who was headlining it? Jimmy Eat World?
No, Fall Out Boy.
Oh, so it was a good show, you said?
Yeah. They've been doing a lot of big kind of theatrical.
Was that the Intersection?
Van Andel Arena. Yeah. I think they sold it out. So yeah, it was a good time.
That's so cool. Yeah, I love that like old punk rock music because that's what I was going to talk about. Is like I see you just as much at fundraisers as I do at ska band shows.
Yeah, we run into each other at the intersection quite a bit too.
All the time, dude.
Yeah. Love seeing Mustard Plug, and any time a good ska band comes around, we're normally there.
He's a music teacher, right? One of the guys from that band, right?
Yeah, I know a few of them have done a few different things, or even one of them I know works in a music store in different parts. But they put out a really rad new album about 6 months ago, and they've been doing a lot of touring. Yeah,
he's a target of mine. The guy that's a music teacher. I've met him a couple times, but I wanted to come on the podcast.
Oh yeah, sure.
So my connection with Mustard Plug is pretty funny. Is like I kind of got into ska music organically. I found this band called Mustard Plug, and I got super hyped on them. And I went and saw them at, I don't know, probably the Pyramid Scheme or something. And I was like, this is so dope that they came to Grand Rapids. And I was talking to somebody like, dude, they're from Grand Rapids, dude. And I was like, no. Like, it was like, this is like my favorite ska band, and they're from home. So I've taken so many of my friends. They're like, what is this Mustard Plug stuff? I was like, don't listen to the music on the radio because you're not going to like it if you don't like this kind of music. But I promise you, you're going to have fun.
Anytime you go to a show, they're a riot.
So they have a new album now. Are they touring like nationally?
Yeah. I've seen I'll see different things on social media or whatever, but the album and the album's really good. So they always do like the Grand Rapids holiday show and some Midwest stuff or going, but then I'll see them and they're playing all over the place, all over nationally and different festivals and things like that. So it's cool, right? Because like you said, that's Grand Rapids band, and they're kind of even from this kind of the East Town area, some of the guys and around, and kind of one of the original godfathers of ska.
I can't think of Al Green's from Grand Rapids, but like they got to be probably like the biggest musical. What's his face from Red Hot Chili Peppers?
Yeah, Kiedis. Yep.
That's kind of cheating, but like I can't think of any other like really big musical talents out of Grand Rapids.
Yeah, they're. I think you kind of hit
the three
the bigger named ones. Yeah.
I mean, Grand Rapids is really cool, and Grand Rapids is doing a lot of cool things around. Is that my dad? Ted! Come down here. We're recording a podcast with Tim. Why don't you just join us?
Hey, what's going on, Ted?
We're just talking about Mustard Plug.
Well, I was going to say, one of the things, I texted Luis some things. One of the things I did not mention was the two of you are probably going to have some commonality in music.
Yeah, well, we've run into each other at shows. Yeah. It's always so cool.
I've seen Tim at more ska bands concerts than I've seen him at fundraisers.
Yeah. The ska love runs through the blood. That's right. It's hereditary.
Yep. And Aquinas, I was just there. I dropped off some Jersey Mike subs to my son and his girlfriend.
Oh, yeah, that's today.
Congratulations, by the way. I'm sure you guys did really well.
Yeah. It's an awesome promotion.
It is crazy busy at lunchtime.
Yeah.
Really?
It is insane.
How do they get, I feel like nonprofits are doing stuff like that all the time. They're doing, promotions. But Jersey Mike does it every year, and it's I've been seeing it all over, social media and stuff.
Yeah, they do a good job of, and they're one of the first ones that really do a lot of the cause marketing piece, but it's wild. So every dollar in those stores will come to us. Last year, there were 8 stores, and we ended up with $82,000 or $83,000.
Holy shit!
And we've got a couple more West Michigan stores this year, so I bet it'll be close to 90 to 100,000. Yeah, and people are out there supporting, so we try to make our way around. But yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah. Well, I didn't do a very deep dive on it, but today I looked it up a little bit. This guy started out by buying a store when he was 17.
Oh, Mike?
Yes.
I'm not sure. I've actually met him twice at some of the national games, and he's super nice dude, really genuine.
I think I'm going to, because it sounds like it was really quite a ride for him. So
yeah, and 4 or 5 years ago, I'd never even really heard of Jersey Mike's. Now they're all over, and great stuff.
Stan loves Jersey. So one of my buddies is from New Jersey, and he loves Jersey Mike's. She was like, "Yeah, it's the hometown thing." And I was like, "Are you just joking around because it says Jersey in it?" And he's like, "No, it grew up in Jersey.
It's a thing." Yeah,
it's all over there.
Like Detroit pizza's a thing.
Yeah.
And people didn't realize it's been around for 50 years.
That's true.
60 years even.
I think you should come down and start being my co-host. It'll be the Vecchios, dude.
Yep, absolutely.
Listen, I'll let you guys know. I just want to say.
Oh no,
No,
so
dude,
good
this
to
is
see
awesome.
you. Yeah,
Listen,
yeah.
Your mom's
have
waiting
you-
at it.
For what?
Dinner.
Oh, is it
And
pizza
I'm gonna
night?
send you a note. So September 19th, and you'll get an email or calendar, but that's going to be official ribbon cutting. Like construction is like flying by
That's
now.
good.
It's looking it's fantastic.
Yeah,
so
keep me in the loop
yeah,
on it.
no, I absolutely will. Yeah, that's
And
going
I'm
to
sure
be a
you've been
party.
thinking about me all summer long as the
going.
Tigers beat up on the White
Get going,
Sox.
yeah. I'm looking forward to listening to that. I'm trying to time my drive tomorrow to Florida with catching first
Well,
pitch and going at least
and
for
we
a little
talked
bit.
about it a little bit. Jason Benetti
Yeah.
is the announcer with the Tigers now, but he was with the White Sox.
Yeah.
And I really enjoy how he calls a game. So I'll be listening to a lot more Tiger games.
Yeah, well, I remember you saying that, and it was after the first spring training game. It was like articles all over of just saying how great he is, and going. So
I'm
yeah,
not
that's-
quite sure what happened with the White Sox, but something happened because he was really too good to let go.
Sure.
Did he
sure,
leave?
yeah.
What's that?
Did he leave in a huss?
It appears his contract didn't get renewed.
Well, who's the guy from the Reds that left in a hurry? The one that got in trouble, and he has like the famous call, and he was like apologizing on the internet, and then he was like, "I consider myself a man of God." Castellanos, far right field. 4-0 ball game. Anyway, sorry everybody.
At least there wasn't a fight in the booth.
Dude, that is
yeah.
such a crazy story.
The Rod Allen Mario.
That is so crazy. Over a chair.
But trust me, that was the straw that broke
yeah,
the
that,
camel's
I was
back.
just gonna say that was the pinnacle that set it all down.
I cannot believe it, dude.
Of going, yeah.
But Jason Benetti, I'm a big fan.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that, and they've got some enthusiasm of. I mean, they've been in a rebuild for how many years with some of those position players.
Well, they
are
got a
going
great
to.
man. And the White Sox are predicted to win about 60 games this year again.
How about the Cubbies?
Cubbies look pretty good. Yeah, they got a great coach. Came from the Milwaukee Brewers, so he's analytic plus an old school manager, so he's going to do a good
Good
job.
combo, yeah.
Which disappoints me, but
We'll go to Mobile Phone Park for a game or two.
I'll let you guys go. I wanted to say hi.
Yeah.
There's some
Thanks,
my
yeah,
dad.
it was great to see you.
Nice little guest appearance. That's awesome.
Yeah, awesome.
Jackson keeps telling us that you need to be a co-host, Ted.
Oh, you're fine. You got it under control.
I don't know. Once Jackson figures out how to make this not sound like crap with only 2 people on it, because if you listen, did you listen to any of the episodes before you came here? You just like raw dog.
Yeah.
life?
It's brand new how I roll, but I've got a long drive to Florida starting tomorrow, so I can just marathon them out. Yeah,
I
yeah,
love
I'm
it.
looking forward to it. Yeah.
So this sounds like kind of like, it sounds silly, but like I think that we would have more traction if it didn't sound like hot garbage. like we do everything right, and this was not being video recorded, but like this background is pretty legit. We even steamed it. We bought a steamer to steam it.
Yeah, nice.
And you can see we just bought all these things here. One of the things that I'm trying to do, I always forget to turn off the HVAC, which is right behind me. But we've been getting better at like the overall product. I really enjoy doing it. Right, it's fun.
Yeah.
And I think that as long as the product that we're putting out gets, a little bit of traction, we can keep getting better and better and better, and then we can do it again, we can do it again, we can do it again. And then the idea is like, you see we got the cameras and everything, is I want to work with like small local businesses or like local nonprofits and have like these kinds of conversations that are a little bit, I don't want to say more casual, but like, we'll talk about baseball, we'll talk about this, we'll talk about how like the ribbon cutting ceremony is going on, and we can turn those into clips.
Yeah, for sure.
And then you guys have clips from a podcast and it looks super duper official. Do you guys have like a soundstage at the new building or anything like that?
So we're building a podcast room, and part of that is to really give our athletes their voice to be heard in stories. Like anytime I go to like a Special Olympics event and I'm talking to family members or athletes, and it's awesome, and we're like, boy, more people need to hear this than just our Special Olympics group or even community, and how we share that. So working on that's part of one of the renovation phases that's happening right now at the building, is building just a small kind of carve out room for podcast. Yeah,
That's awesome. Do you have like a show planned? Do you guys have like a plan for this? Are you going to be the host?
No, I won't be the host. So we have a series called Meeting the Moment. One of our staff members used to be an on-air news reporter, and so she's fantastic. Her name's Lauren Springer. So she was with Kalamazoo News, and then over in Traverse City, and was always a huge supporter, advocate, volunteer for Special Olympics. And she came on board our team about 3 years ago. So I handle all of that podcast or interviews, anything with her. Yeah.
Well,
she's great.
That's awesome. I think that the content that will come out of that will be so good. I'm pretty involved in Make-A-Wish, right? And so 2 steps back to take 3 steps forward. I feel like there's a saturation in the eye of the consumer of nonprofits, right? I don't think that that's like an attack on nonprofits, but there's a lot of little ones that are doing this, that, and the next thing, and like they're tremendous, and I think that they're what makes the world turn. But there's a lot of like bigger nonprofits or bigger causes overall that are getting better traction as technology improves. So like Make-A-Wish, I'm a huge Make-A-Wish supporter. We do the Make-A-Wish ride. Do you ride bikes?
Yeah. No, so my wife does. I'm not a big
well, she want to join the team. We'll talk about that later.
Yeah, right on.
But like the content is so good. Like they have these kids getting wishes granted. Like how is that not great?
Yeah.
Like, these kids are so jazzed up about like getting their new, like the one kid that wanted to be a dinosaur that was on the news. It's so, I don't want to say easy because that undercuts the value that you're creating, but it's so easy to fundraise for because you can feel so good about what you're doing. And like the Special Olympics is the same thing. Like the Special Olympics is a who. It's such a like. You cannot not smile at those events.
Yeah. Well, and back to your point, I think you're right. I mean, with nonprofits, the rap can be in sometimes, and I think sometimes rightfully so, is right replication of services. And, you use the food bank model of you've got a food bank on this corner and they're doing the exact same thing, and then a food bank on this corner and food bank on that corner versus, well, if they were all talking, maybe this food bank specializes in produce and this one dairy, and that, just an example, but we see that a lot in regards to, and part of it is just lack of awareness, right? Nonprofits are formed by individuals, or an individual who's really passionate of a cause or service, and generally something very close to them, because they're not aware of other resources. And so getting back to our building, I think that was one of the great things is having multiple nonprofits, is that we're all really good at what we do. And so we don't have to replicate services. And so when a family comes through the door, right, like Special Olympics Michigan, as you said, we are awesome at sports, and there is no better sporting event than come to a Special Olympics event. But then, some of our athletes need support navigating Medicaid services or employment world or whatever. There's other organizations in the building that specialize in that. So one of the things that we really want to do is kind of create a model of collaboration, so we don't have, to your point, so many nonprofits that are kind of replicating services. We're really, really excited about kind of showing the world and the nonprofit world how you can be really efficient, with donors' dollars.
This is more of like a brand image thing, but like Make-A-Wish partners with other organizations, and because Make-A-Wish fundraises so much money, they can like support that organization to help support the cause. So for you guys, you have a much stronger brand than other ones. It's like, instead of being like, oh, you should support this Medicare program, it's just like, support us, we'll support them, because we know how to use our dollars best.
Yeah. I mean, we are really, really good at stretching that and being efficient. I mean, one of the things that I think is maybe a misnomer of information, or someone thinks, is like, oh, all right, Special Olympics, you're getting all this funding from the federal government, or your brand, you don't need funding. And we're really grassroots organization, right? There's no cost for any of our athletes, families to participate. So we do lots of different fundraising events and activities, but our ratio of spend, to your point, because we're so good at it, is we're always right around 89 cents to 90 cents per dollar. Awesome. That goes directly to programming. So when donors, give that dollar, to your point, we can really make it stretch and create maximum impact.
Do you, and this is a conversation that I've had with a good friend of mine, Charlie, about this, Charlie Wonder Jim, that there is I don't want to say it's so much a catch-22, but there's kind of like a hump to get over for nonprofits to scale and create like the most value possible, is because we live in a world where the best people go to the private sector and then they get paid, right? So it's how do you find the good, like right now, you, Michael Hall, the CEO of Make-A-Wish, are absolute rock stars. How do you guys find more people like that are willing to join the nonprofit space? And by the way, not saying that the people that work in nonprofit aren't competent, but it's just like there's a little bit of like a dance there, right?
Yeah. I mean, like you said, it's the market. We want to recruit, like, just in any industry. I want to recruit the most passionate, the brightest, the innovators, right? And going, but so I think part of that is falls on the CEO or the board of directors to be competitive, and we look at that a lot, especially even in the nonprofit world. And I think organizations need to do that. There was an awesome TED Talk. It was probably like 9 or 10 years ago that touched upon this. Dan Polenta, I believe, is the individual that talked about this, to say why are we paying individuals in the nonprofit world half of what they were making in the corporate world when doing services and programs? So it's a balance, but it's just like any other industry. We want to recruit the best people, because one of my awesome mentors said, Ted Vecchio, one of our guests that almost just came down here in my first real role as an executive, he told me it's all about the people. And it's so true. We have an amazing staff at Special Olympics Michigan that allows us to do all these great things. I get to grab a mic and put on a smile, but it's the staff members that are really driving that bus to all the great programs and creativity. So we have to find a way to make sure that we can be competitive to keep them in the nonprofit sector.
Do you think that less like compensation wise to be competitive, but more career path wise, is there not so much a cap, but there's not like middle management in nonprofit, really? There's a lot of individual contributors. Do you think that there's like a ramp, like people, like maybe there's a fall off, like there's a lot of younger people that start nonprofit and then bounce out because there's not maybe a career path? Is it?
Yeah, and again, I think that's part of the role of nonprofits, right? Of kind of that ladder. So we talk about that. Special Olympics Michigan, we have a few different departments. So we have our sports department, and we have a health department, and we have a unified champion school department, and we have a business administration department and field service. But you're right, a lot of those are 2 or 3 people. So it's hard to say, boy, what does my future look like in 5 or 10 years when there's maybe only 2 or 3 in a department. Now, part of that's my job, is to grow that, because we're more services. And boy, I'd love, we started off, we had 35 staff, we're at 44 staff, and hopefully in a couple years we're up to 50 or 60, because that means we're providing that many more services or programs. But having those conversations, and sometimes you're right, it's compensation is a big part, but it's also the appreciation. What is the professional development you're offering? Showing what does that progression look like to kind of from a coordinator to a manager to a director role. One of the things for us is, we don't have a ton of staff. Again, 44 staff for the whole state. We've got thousands and thousands of awesome volunteers, and we need to do a good job of working with volunteers and stewarding apart. And so that involves managing as well. But again, I think you're exactly right. That's something that, overall, I think the nonprofit sector that organizations just need to continue to look at is how do you keep those rising stars within your organization?
You came into ITC at a point where they needed some help. You kind of came into ITC's Indian Trails Camp, but did you kind of transition into, not Make-A-Wish, sorry, Special Olympics at a similar time when they were like going through a huge transition?
Yeah, I mean, so I think one of the so kind of 2 different situations, right? So ITC, awesome, respected organizations, been around, at the time it was 50 some years, and providing unbelievable services. But I'd say kind of on the smaller end or realm, kind of niche. And again, awesome stuff. So I had the real opportunity to work with an awesome board of directors to be creative and kind of look at different models of service, look at the assets that we had, an amazing summer camp, look at programs that were out there in the community mental health world. When I came to Special Olympics Michigan, program was already really, really solid. Like, there was great staff, great folks. The CEO had been there for over 30 years. So that was a part of a transition. The other big transition, though, was right when I was coming on, Special Olympics Michigan had been in a kind of an employment agreement with Central Michigan University for years and years. So all of special, yeah, and that was where the main office was. Every Special Olympics Michigan employee was technically also an employee of Central Michigan University. Special Olympics Michigan paid for all of the costs and everything. So, but there was a transition there. I was able to kind of help navigate a little bit through experience with ITC, as you mentioned. But program was already on such great ground and footing. It allowed me to really help work with staff of how can we take it even further versus kind of building it up, if that makes sense.
Yeah, the transition, like it's like the looking to the next steps. Not like moving into a building isn't just the move of the building. This is the foundation for huge growth into the future. We touched on ITC a little bit, and I wanted to kind of unpack that. Not unpack it like it's like a problem, but to our listeners, Indian Trails Camp is a camp for physically handicapped and mentally handicapped people to go, young and old adults now too, right? To go and get away over the summer. It's like regular camp that you went to growing up, except it's wheelchair accessible. It's an awesome experience. One of the big things that you did is you expanded that year round, right? You took all of the skill sets and facilities and performers, like high performers there, and you're like, we can turn this into a year round program.
Yeah. So, it started off with building from a summer camp model, as you mentioned. And again, awesome facility and awesome folks. But so I came to Indian Trails Camp from Hope Network in supports coordination role. So working with a lot of individuals and families about what are the services available. Came to Indian Trails Camp, and boy, there's a great facility. You've got staff that just love to work and support individuals. And there was a real big need at the time, especially one of the larger respite facilities in Grand Rapids was closing. That was kind of step one of saying, hey, we've got great staff. We've got a fully accessible facility. We can kind of provide this year round. And then that started building to we've got great opportunities for vocational and work setting or life skill. So it really kind of expanded. And again, it was always the same belief of getting back to people is you want your loved ones, you want to know whether you're dropping them off for summer camp, dropping them off for a day program, whatever, that the individual that's there to support them is compassionate, caring, and wants to help them create independence.
The independence piece this is kind of a two-part question and more individual thoughts that are kind of connected. So you guys do a lot of vocation training and work on a lot of like independence training, which from my heart and soul feels like a great thing we should be doing, right? Is the funding around this, is there any federal or state funding in this to help build not better citizens, but more productive citizens out of that? Is that kind of how that is, or what's the angle for funding?
The majority is through Medicaid and Medicaid Chapter 3, and every state program is kind of unique in how they deliver their community mental health services, and that's what falls under this, what we say Medicaid Chapter 3. So vocational work, independent living, and even, like I said, respite, because that's a great benefit to the families. It helps keep individuals with natural supports longer, so they're not necessarily maybe going to an adult foster care home if they don't want to or need that. So it kind of fluctuates across the board. Back with Indian Trails Camp, we had a couple really great partners who were open and innovative. Ottawa County Community Mental Health was great because they really believed in the consumers first. Network 180, which is the essentially Kent County Community Mental Health. Then, take that model and go across the state. So one time, there were I think 17 or 18 kind of partnerships or contracts with community mental health agencies. But the funding really comes from the state Medicaid budget that then they're given from kind of their allotment from the federal.
Is there money out of pocket to use ICUS Life services? ICUS Life is ITC, by the way.
Yeah.
It's the new name. It's the broader picture name.
Yeah. We when we went through kind of the brand change, that was part of it. So because everyone heard camp and they thought, oh, just summer. My Special Olympics Michigan hat now in World, again, no cost for any participation. Awesome. Back from the ICUS or ITC side, it was either community mental health dollars or scholarships for those that maybe didn't have that or going, or some private pay. So and that's very common within the services of community mental health world.
Do they do the red, whites, and blues thing out there still?
I think so. I think I just saw something on social media coming up. The challenge is, and I certainly want to get back. I'll make it back in the summertime. A couple times my band actually played out there last summer. It was really fun just seeing the campers, and they were up on stage going. So I think we're going to do that again. But with 3 kids all in sports and activities, it's really tough to get out to different events and activities during the springtime. But that's a great fundraiser for sure.
I recommend anybody, if you get the chance to go, they'll shake it down for a little bit of money, but it's worth it.
Absolutely worth it. Like you talk about Make-A-Wish, and I think that's an amazing organization. And going, for so many of those campers, that's their wish, right? That's their experience of going to camp for a week and seeing friends and that part. I can see why you're passionate about both of them as well. And then that's what fun. And that's what the dollars from Red, Whites, and Brews went to or goes towards a lot of times, as the scholarships and helping individuals get to camp.
They get you good. So I was on like a date with a girl, and I went and I took her there, and I was a little liquored up because they got me all liquored up, and there was a fishing trip. It was a little bit cheap for a while, and I was bidding on the fishing trip. And then I was like, watch, I'm going to bid this up. And someone's going to buy it out. And I did a very good job of bidding it up. And then they stopped bidding on it. So I'm over here trying to impress this girl. And I ended up buying like an $1,800 fishing trip.
Hopefully it was the best fishing trip of your life.
It was a blast. It was a riot. It was a great time. But
that's a whole nother podcast of talking about having a few drinks at fundraisers and share the stories of things that you meant to get. And other times it was like, oh, shoot.
I mean, it's the and this is something I've argued with, not our casual argument, but like the drinking at fundraisers it's a balance, right? It's like the people like, we don't want to promote drinking because it's not in the image, but it's like when people are drunk, they buy $1,800 fishing trips.
Yeah, well, that gives me a good plug. So we have 3 kind of signature events outside of our polar plunges. So we just got done with our polar plunge season. So those are all branded Special Olympics Michigan. And so many of those sites are parties, right? So if you're going to jump in freezing cold water, it's not too bad. Sometimes you may have a drink before or after. But our gala, we have at Ford Field. We've moved that 4 years ago or so and thought, well, perfect. We're a sports organization and different things. It's an open bar. As part of your ticket, and I'll tell you what, our auction items go pretty well, and we get great items. But to that point, you're right. It's that balance of, certainly not promoting, but it's also kind of that social aspect in time.
I'm not going to get in your way.
And the bids start coming out a little higher. Yeah. But our it's a ties and tennies gala, so everyone really it's you wear your best tennis shoes or favorite tennis shoes. Yeah, it's a riot.
When is the gala this year?
So it's November 1st, I believe, for this year. We always have to work around Ford Field and the Lions schedule.
That makes sense.
So we get a couple whole days, but I'm pretty sure our save the dates are going out Friday, November 1st.
On the field?
No, so it's in the concourse when you there for a Lions game, and then we have a couple different rooms set up for some of our corporate partners and sponsors. But it's right on the main concourse. You see the field, like you're overlooking the field when you have it. So and we've had around 350 attendees the last few years.
It's huge.
Yeah. So and our goal is to get to 500 for this coming year.
And
so
how much is a ticket?
It's a riot. Yeah, good question. I think we're at 150.
Oh, it's super reasonable.
Going, yeah. It's not bad at all. It's 150 or 200. But again, it's open bar. The food's awesome, and again, great cause.
I spend more than that at just a bar.
Yeah, right on.
That's awesome. You said something earlier, and I got distracted. So you like the baseball?
Yeah, I am a big baseball fan.
So do your kids play baseball for starters?
We do. So my oldest son is a baseball player at Aquinas College right now. So freshman, so playing baseball, and then
what's his face still the coach? The guy that's been there forever?
Beauchamp?
Yeah.
Nope. So Coach Beauchamp, he left a while ago. It's Coach LeMange, who's awesome.
He was the coach at East Grand Rapids when I went to East Grand Rapids.
Oh, Coach LeMange? Yeah, that's right. Yep. He was the East Grand Rapids guy. So yeah, super great guy. My sons just love the program. I went down to Florida about 3 weeks ago to watch the team play, and it was a riot.
Oh, that's cool. They do spring training down there?
Not even spring training. It's Midwest baseball, because the baseball season starts in February, so you try to get as many games in as possible. Yeah. So they had 8 games down there, so got to go down there, and right, it's like the dream come true, because I remember watching my oldest son, Aaron, probably since he was 2 or 3, with the wiffle bat in the backyard, and coach them, and now getting to watch him, pitch a game in Florida for my alma mater as well. Aquinas College was pretty special. So yeah. Can't say enough great things about AQ and the program as well.
When I was at AQ, it was a battle. When I was there, I wanted nothing more than to get out of there and go to a big state college. But I spent enough time at state colleges on the weekends. I had my fair share of fun. But after the fact, now that I've graduated from it and I'm an adult, I can look back on it and be like, tremendous education. And the people that go there are generally really sharp people that I want to associate with. There's people that I want to be connected to as alumni.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. I mean, and it's Right, like we've talked a lot about nonprofits and that philanthropic spirit of so many alumni supporters are really large community philanthropists within Grand Rapids from the business side. Like you said, when I went to grad school there as well, and some of the individuals I've made great connections. It's helped out in my career. I never imagined that Aaron would go to Aquinas, but when he walked the campus and had a few different schools or tours, but he loves it. And the same thing, he still gets some of that big college experience. He was just at Michigan State last weekend for March Madness with a bunch of his buddies. So yeah,
the biggest problem with Aquinas for me is it's in Grand Rapids. Right, I wasn't able to get out of Dodge, but whatever. I like I said, I do look back on it fondly now.
Yeah, right on.
It took a while. You were talking about baseball. So you go to a
So I
couple
coached.
games?
Yeah. So then I coached my youngest son's. He's in 7th grade, so his travel team. We've done that the last few years. So
Does he play for Southern?
That. No. So he's on our team's called the Caledonia Coyotes. So it's all kids in our Caledonia area that will play the summer together. So it's kind of fun because it's the kids that you're gonna play baseball with in high school, as well. We were a few years ago, we were at a tournament. It was really funny. So we're playing a team, and so there were a couple Caledonia kids on our team playing baseball against another team that had a couple Caledonia kids, and on another field a couple Caledonia kids. And we were like, well, shit, why, if we're all playing travel baseball, why are we all going to these programs when we know we're going to play together? So that's been really cool. So
That's a great idea.
Yes. The boys are great, but that pretty much outside of Special Olympics Michigan, I get to play a little bit of music sometimes. It's you're gonna find me at a baseball diamond, and my daughter's playing soccer right now for Caledonia High School. So most nights or weekends are spent somewhere cheering on my kids or our Special Olympics athletes.
One of the things I'm trying to get better at is not jumping all over the map when I'm trying to run these podcasts. But one thing we forgot to talk about is, so my dad mentioned it when he came here. The new facility, it's almost finished. It's not like just a school that turned into like an office building. It is like a truthfully state-of-the-art facility.
Yeah, it's the innovation is really, really cool. And what I mean by that, we're going to be cutting the ribbon in September. So all the outdoor piece, there's pickleball and bocce, there's a putting green, artificial turf field, 8-lane track. So all that stuff that you would think in a sports field. And again, I'm saying like when you go there, it's not just, boy, this is cool for Special Olympics. Like, boy, this is one of the best sports complexes I've ever seen. We want that for our athletes. But inside the buildings, you were talking about like the innovation. We turn the old library into what we call a community collaboration room, where these different organizations can hold meetings, and we spent about a year kind of working with Steelcase on different types of furniture and layouts for individuals of all abilities, right? So there's loop technology for someone that might be deaf or hard of hearing. There's stationary furniture that you wouldn't know it for someone who may be blind or visually impaired. Some of the colors and the round edges, we got input from the autism community. And so all these things that are very intentional, that we don't want it, you go in there and it's feel intentional, but even we're the first building facility meeting room, I believe it was in the state that we heard, that has this AI sound technology. So one of the companies we were working with, huge shout out to CS Erickson, with these meeting rooms and spaces, one of our staff members is actually in Vegas right now meeting with folks who design stuff at the Sphere, because they've heard about our project and said, we're looking at some of that cool stuff. How can they bring some of that stuff here to our auditorium? So it's really going to be innovative, cool, kind of bridging all these things. And again, not just for us, but all the organization partners, and people can rent out the facility as well. We want to host major events, major conferences. We were putting in a little tidbit. We put in a bid to host an international conference here in Grand Rapids at our building in 2026. Law Enforcement Torch Run is the largest fundraising arm of Special Olympics. Every state program has it. Countries all over the world with their law enforcement, they raise funds, and so we put in to host that conference in a couple weeks. Representatives will be coming to Grand Rapids for a site visit. So we're crossing. Yeah. So we're crossing our fingers. What's that?
What are they going to grade you guys on?
So I think a lot of it is going to be based on.
Are these guys cool?
Capacity. Oh, they're awesome. So yeah. No, they're really, really cool. So they've got a production company and then a couple individuals from Law Enforcement Torch Run International Council, which I was appointed to last year. So that's been pretty cool of being on the international side of things as well. But no, they're going to be doing site visits in Grand Rapids of checking out, JW Amway Courtyard, because we need a lot of rooms. We're talking about 1,500 people. They're going to be checking out the building for events and activities. They're going to be talking of a host day of what's something that we can do really cool. We're like, man, Beer City USA, right? A beer tour and all that stuff. So
awesome.
yeah. So we'll find out about that at the end of April if we get that. But that would be a week-long conference and party of again welcoming people from all over the world of supporters of Special Olympics.
That's awesome. So here's a question that I do have.
Yeah.
And this is more just like an admin question. A buddy of mine asked me, I was telling him about this. My buddy was like, asking me about this, and I was like, I don't have the answer for you. Special Olympics is different than Paralympics, correct?
Yeah.
And it's not like the Olympics where it's only once every other year. What is the competition style? What is the cycle of sports, I guess?
That's the perfect interview question, because a lot of people aren't sure or know. So maybe I'll unpack the Paralympic question first.
Yeah.
So we are one of, again, the 3 organizations that are allowed to utilize the Olympic name, right? So the traditional standard Olympics that occurs every 4 years, summer, winter games, as you mentioned. Paralympics, which is for individuals with physical disabilities. Special Olympics, individuals with intellectual disabilities.
Got it. And then my Beer Olympics also gets to use
Yeah, absolutely. I promise we won't send a copyright letter for that. Every 4 years, Special Olympics has a international summer games, just like, I think it's this year that Olympics is in Paris, I believe. I'm seeing all these ads. So every 4 years we do an international summer games, and every 4 years we do an international winter games. Awesome. So that's where athletes from all over the world will go and compete. And then coming down the next level lower, so we've got World Games. Then we have what's called the USA National Games. So then every 4 years, athletes from all the other states will get together and they will compete against each other. So the last one, so for example, 2022 was at in Florida, the Wild World of Disney Sports Complex.
That's awesome.
Special Olympics Michigan brings a delegation of 70, right? Special Olympics Ohio brings 80. Special Olympics
all by state?
All by state. So you
like
bring
Rhode
your own
Island
states.
Special Olympics?
Yep, exactly. So they do the
California's
ceremony.
probably stacked.
California brings a lot of people. Florida set the record in 2022 because of the home state. They had like 500. But it's awesome. ABC broadcasts the opening ceremony.
Really?
You walk out. It's fantastic. So that's the next layer. So we've got the international games. Then we have
these are staggered.
Then we have national games. Yep. So staggered. You're exactly right. Then you get to your state games. So every state program. So now we're into Michigan, has a state summer games. We also in Michigan do a state winter games. We do a state basketball. We do a state poly hockey. So we have these statewide events. So where athletes can compete, against each other from around the state. Then we have regionals and then locals. Someone can get involved at Special Olympics. Let's say a brand new athlete gets involved in Grand Rapids. We're here and joins the basketball team. Maybe they participate in a local tournament, right? And so then next year their team goes, hey, we want to go to regionals or potential state. That athlete has the opportunity, depending on qualifying or whatever, could go to the next national games. If we get a quota, they could go to World Games. So awesome. We have 4 athletes going to Torino, Italy next year, representing Michigan, Alpine, and going. That's what their fundraising's for. Is supporting
awesome,
that.
Dude.
So yeah. So we've got again 2 alpine skiers, 2 cross country skiers that are going to.
Do you get to go? I feel like you should get
Torino.
To go.
So I have the opportunity to go, especially with part of my role on the U.S. Sports Committee. To be honest, the long flight to Europe, I don't know if I'm such a fan of. I do. Yeah. I wouldn't mind that. I do quite a bit of traveling around the U.S. I've never had that overseas plane ride. I'm not a huge
you definitely should. That
guy.
means
yeah. So but Torino in 25, then in 26 is the next USA National Games that's being held in Minneapolis. So we're gonna our goal we start putting in for what our quota is. So we'll find out, like, can we bring a basketball team? Can we bring a soccer team? Can we bring 4 track and field athletes or gymnastics, etc.? But our goal is to bring around 100 athletes to Minneapolis in 26, and then the next World Summer Games is going to be in Chile, and that's, I believe, in 27. So a lot of big things. But again, even here in Michigan, our state Summer Games is happening May 31st and June 1st, and we're going to have 3,500 athletes from around the state at Central Michigan.
Oh, up at Central?
Yep, at Central Michigan for our state games. I believe it's our 50th year at Central Michigan, and that's an awesome experience as well. So great thing about Special Olympics, it's every community, every county in Michigan, we have a program, and you can compete there locally and do that, or it can take you to see the world as well.
How many athletes are in Michigan right now? Active athletes, I guess.
Yeah, so we have around 20,000 athletes and unified
Holy
partners.
shit. I did not expect that number.
I added the unified partner piece. That's one of the largest growing programs we have. And so what unified sports is now, it's a team comprised of individuals with and without intellectual disabilities. We have 530 schools now in Michigan. This was a record year for us. An example is a basketball team, a unified basketball team, 3 Special Olympics athletes, 2 partners, individuals without intellectual disability, and they compete against others. And again, it can be really high quality. So unified is another big part of our program. We're actually sending 2 unified college teams, Western Michigan and University of Michigan, basketball teams to the NERSA, which is the National Recreation Association tournament. There's a whole special tournament just for SO College Pro. So really cool. But yeah, about 20,000 athletes partners across the state. Look at the census numbers and going, there's hundreds of thousands of individuals with intellectual disabilities. So we see 20,000, we get really excited, but say, boy, we have an opportunity to have even more coming to our movement.
2 questions, and they're kind of very different questions. So I'll ask one, which is easier than the other. Is your funding per person, or is it per event or per activity?
Our budget is so funny, coming from Indian Trails Camp, Special Olympics Michigan budget, and we have so many pages. So because we have so many events, and especially now the cost of how much, it's about $800,000-$900,000 for a state Summer Games event. Because because you think about it, you've got 3,500 athletes, delegations, maybe close to 4,000, spending 3-4 days, lodging, meals,
you guys pick up the tab on
equipment.
lodging?
That's what the fundraising goes for. So our polar plunges that we do throughout the year, where individuals are raising money and for that cold water, that is what is paying for our athletes to participate in all of these events. So we have a breakdown of all of our costs and events, but the local programs will also raise money. I just saw an invoice, right? So the Upper Peninsula, we have a program, awesome program in Marquette. But for those athletes to get down to our state Summer Games and stand up for a few days, like the busing is like $4,000, right? So we want to be equitable across. So there's a lot of fundraising involved. Our organizational budget is right around $9 million. And
a year?
Yep. So and every year we kind of start off straight. So my job and my team's job is to raise $9 million plus every year, so we can provide all these great opportunities for the athletes.
So how much of it comes from your year-end fiesta, and how much of it comes from Medicaid, and how much of it kind of trickles in from stuff?
So no dollars from Medicaid at Special Olympics Michigan. So we received no funding from that. That was all, when we were at Indian Trails Camp because of community mental health. So and like I said, so that's the big misnomer when people say, oh, Special Olympics, you're getting all this federal funding.
I 100% assumed that.
Yeah. So we received some, but it's restricted. So out of our $9.5 million budget, about 10% of that comes from a combination between our state of Michigan and federal funding, but it is grant specific that we have to apply for every year for our school Unified Champion School program and our health program.
Oh, okay.
Again, I could talk about health for days. Individuals with intellectual disabilities have an average life expectancy right now of 16 years shorter than someone without an intellectual disability. It's a travesty, and it has nothing to do with the disability. It's awareness, lack of resources, barriers, things. We offer 9 health disciplines. So when our athletes come to a state summer games, there's going to be there's a program called Special Smiles where we have dentists that volunteer their time and do health screenings and dental screenings. We have a vision program where athletes will get glasses. So like so much more than sports, but we receive some funding, as I mentioned, for that. So yeah, about 10% from federal state funding. And
This thing's such an easy fix, too. Like you come in, you get a pair of glasses, it makes somebody's life so much better.
yeah, oh yeah. I mean, we hear stories all the time, and every year it's these awesome stories. So one of our board members loves to share when she was checking it out, and one of the athletes had mentioned, like, man, I've never seen the bottom lane of the pool before, right? And now I can say that. And then the other one, he kind of elbowed her and said, well, now I get to check out the hot lifeguard, right? So it was kind of funny of the different perspectives. But again, it comes down to like the fundraisers. So fundraising events is a massive chunk of our budget as well. And then we have really great corporate partners, right? When Ted came down, we were just talking about Jersey Mike's. We have
Which is today.
Yep. But we've got great corporate partners all across the state that really give a lot of funds, give a lot of time for volunteering to support us as well, because again, we that's how we fund our programs.
Obviously, these athletes are training year round. They have the facilities to train with you guys.
Yep.
Right? Is there like nutrition programs, lifting programs, stuff like that?
There are. So we've got a program called SoMe Fit. It can either be an 8-week or 12-week program. So it's a fitness combination with healthy living and nutrition about, and I could probably use to follow that sometimes as well, about, drinking more water, the ratio of, soda, not drinking so much of that, but different exercises, different things to kind of live that healthier life. Because some of that program is funded by the CDC, it's a really small amount for the overall scope of work we do. But on that side, we take really great data, and we know that those programs work. So, from body mass index to weight to different things, we run those all across the state.
That's awesome. I guess that kind of rolls in my next. So they're athletes, but it's a little bit more fun than typical athletes. How much emphasis is put on, I don't want to say performance, because I don't want to kind of sully the waters, but they are competing. What does that look like? What does that, I guess, whole ecosystem look like?
Yeah, that's a good question. And sometimes it depends on the coach you're asking, right?
Okay.
So Special Olympics Michigan, well, I should say Michigan, Special Olympics was founded by Eunice Kennedy Shriver, Kennedy family, because her sister.
What's his face's sister? Okay,
got it.
I did know this.
Because they had a sister, Rosemary, with intellectual disability.
I did know this.
So Kennedy family, big on sports, big on competition. And Eunice just felt it was a travesty that as she was getting older, that her sister couldn't compete in sports. So kind of how it was founded. That's the 30-second elevator pitch I can go on. Lots of Camp Shriver. Through that, I've heard multiple stories of different programs or whatever where Eunice would get pissed if the competition was not good, right? Like so to that point of saying, as you mentioned, kind of the quality of competition and races of like, no, get up, like this is a race, or this isn't a. Right, Special Olympics is a feel-good organization, but it's based on quality competition.
Because it feels good to do hard things.
Yeah, and there's great organizations that will, I've seen so many times, and you see the TV stories or whatever of the athlete who you give the football and everyone falls down and then they kind of run down the field.
Yeah.
Like, and that's cool. So don't get me wrong. I think a lot of those programs are great, but we provide the opportunity for the athletes to score their own touchdown of flag football, where they worked and earned that, and it was competition, and that's a really big piece there. But getting to your point, we balance that sometimes because we say we're not necessarily a sports organization. We're an inclusion organization. Our goal is sports as a catalyst to bring people together. Some look at it very much of, hey, just come together and have fun, and that's okay, and that's great. So many times our athletes come because friends, but other times there are athletes that are working in training and they want to compete and they want to win. And that's great too. And that's exactly it. We just had our state basketball finals last weekend. And you could be watching on one court It was a team from Eaton Rapids versus a team from Detroit, and this dude just threw down a monster two-handed dunk. And they're going back and forth, and it is high-level basketball. Again, right? Like, that's part of the goal. You go there, and you say, boy, that's really good basketball. Because we want to empower and show individuals that just because someone has an intellectual disability doesn't mean they're any less of anything. They should have all the rights, all the abilities. But you go to another court, and you can see one of our lower divisions, and teams are just kind of learning to pass or play. So that's one of the things that's really great about us, is that there's something for everyone. So you've got high level, high competitive competition. I was officiating a unified state championship last year, and I gave out a technical. Didn't throw them out, but gave them a technical, because I was like, I would expect that from any other athlete or program. And then others, like you said, we're kind of learning the game. So I think there's something in it for everyone. It's kind of calling what that is out, or going like, hey, this is a state finals. Like, this is high level competition versus sometimes, hey, it's a local event. It's more for participation and kind of fun.
I love it. I love it so much. So I guess I got a couple of final questions and we can get out of here. But is ever, I don't know how to phrase this to make it sound like they've graduated from Special Olympics to regular sports, because that undercuts what you guys are doing. But are there ever athletes that have bounced out to go and participated at a high level?
Yeah. No. I think that's an awesome question, and that's part of our goal for our athletes, to have every opportunity that any athlete would want. So we've had, just in the last couple of years, a couple athletes who've run the Boston Marathon and crushed it. I mean, crushed it. I remember I was at the USA National Games in Seattle, and one of our athletes, he's in Kalamazoo, and just this amazing runner, and he was just flying. And the Seattle Times took his picture, and he was on the front page of the sports picture, not just because he was a Special Olympics athlete, because he's an amazing athlete, right? And we just had another athlete who kind of looked up to him and said, yeah, I'm going to do that now, and so trained for that. There's games called the Virtus Games, which is really high level against sports competition, and we have a alpine skier, a Special Olympics athlete, who's training for that to go overseas to Poland next year and compete internationally. So yeah, I think to that point. But the other great thing is that there's always a home for them at Special Olympics Michigan. And some of the parts is, maybe they're done competing, but come back and coach, right? Come back, be officials. That's one of the things that we really work on, is letting our athletes be the leaders. We just have to listen to them and see what they want. But we've got amazing athletes.
So I guess it's like, this will be, I believe, the perfect question to end on. How would people get involved? Can they go be unified athletes? Can they go be coaches, show up to galas and stuff like that?
Yeah, so a little bit of everything. I would say the first big piece is we've got an email address that just say, hey, I'm interested in getting involved, and it's volunteer with SOMI, SOMI for Special Olympics Michigan. Yep, volunteer with SOMI at SOMI.org. You can go to our webpage, and there's a connect down there. We generally do really well with one-day events for volunteers or groups, and we could always use folks, right? We always want to bring people in. Where our biggest need right now is in coaching, because that requires a little more of a time commitment, and I get it, right? Like I said, I've got three different kids in different phases of life, and it's hard. But if we want to have more basketball teams, we want to have more flag football, poly hockey, we need coaches. And we're trying to make it a lot easier to volunteer. Again, especially if you're in the Grand Rapids or West Michigan area, oh my goodness, you're going to be able to coach on artificial turf, the greatest flag football Special Olympics field in the country, right? Yeah, exactly. Right, or soccer, or basketball. So we want to make it easy, but we need folks to say, hey, I'm willing to commit an hour and a half in a week. But I'll tell you what, like, I've never had a coach say, boy, that wasn't worth it. So many times it's once they take that step and get involved, like you said, that first time of, when you were on the bike for Make-A-Wish, or other time, it's taking that little bit of a step, and then it's just like, man, this is the greatest thing. I can't imagine, my life when I didn't do that. So go to our website, somi.org, or volunteer with somi.org. But we need more coaches right now and throughout the state, because got a lot of athletes. We never want to leave anyone on the sidelines. And because of the facility, because of brand, just because of our great staff that's out there recruiting, because of the unified program where students are participating in school and they want to continue, we need more coaches.
I love it. Well, do you guys have like field days where people can come check out your building, your facilities?
Yeah. So not necessarily a field day, but there's always things happening. Our next big event is what we call our regionals or spring games. And again, We've got them in the UP and in Detroit and in Grand Rapids. Because our building is under construction right now, we're not able to do them this year. I think product. We're partnering with East Kentwood and Forest Hill Central, I believe, to do our spring games, and that's on Saturday, May 4th, I believe. But anyone that wants to check it out, we just say, hey, shoot an email, give a call. We'd love to give a tour, because there's a lot of time there's practices happening. The energy at the building is incredible. That's one of the hard things, is sometimes leaving the building, because it's like, oh, there's a Special Olympics Michigan team practicing there, and then there's this high energy club team doing this, and Autism Support is doing a theater group here, and Down Syndrome Association West Michigan is doing a cooking class here. It's really awesome.
How late do they practice? You guys got lights on the field and stuff?
We don't have lights on the field, but in the gymnasiums they go for a while. It's funny you said that. So this morning, my first meeting of the day was meeting with our construction contractors, our engineers, and a lighting company, because we have that as a goal of 3 to 4 years, because that's going to be a whole separate fundraising project. But we want to start putting in the conduits and start kind of prepping now, so we don't have to redo things. I'd love to get that, because that would expand our playing times. And again, for our athletes to have that opportunity. On a side note, you mentioned last question, but we are hosting the Special Olympics North America Summer Showcase in summer of 2025 in August. So there's going to be athletes from all over the country coming to that building to compete in flag football, bocce, and soccer. So we're going to need volunteers. We're going to need folks, and it's going to be awesome. So again, you're going to have athletes from Special Olympics Florida, Special Olympics Texas here to compete, and they're going to be playing right on the fields at our Unified Sports and Inclusion Center.
I love it. Yeah, I'm going to swing by. I bet you it's just a great show.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right,
yeah, please do.
Tim, thank you for coming by.
Yeah, it's awesome to chat with you. Awesome to see you, man.
This is fun.
And we'll see each other at a Muster Plug show down the road real soon.
I promise. Thanks for helping make my dream come alive.